This is the third release in the Russell's Reserve Single Rickhouse series from Wild Turkey. The Single Rickhouse collection explores whiskey terroir by examining how the specific locations of barrel aging influences the final whiskey. Each release in this series has been made from a small batch of rare stocks sourced entirely from one single rickhouse on the Wild Turkey campus. The Rickhouse, in their third release, focuses on the Camp Nelson B location. It's also the highest proof of any Russell's Reserve bottling ever released. Let's review it. Come right back. It's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C. for the Mash and Drum, and welcome back to the show. Like, subscribe, and help me keep climbing to 100,000 subscribers here in 2024. Appreciate the support. So built in 1946 and still standing tall today, Camp Nelson Rickhouse B is centrally located on the Camp Nelson grounds. Here you could take a look at the map. The 7th floor Rickhouse benefits from higher elevation and increased sun exposure compared to the Rickhouses of the previous iterations that sat closer to the Kentucky River and its shady tree line. According to Wild Turkey, the hot environment was integral in developing the whiskey's oaky profile and a major contributing factor to its impressively high proof point of 120.2. So for single Rickhouse Camp Nelson B, master distiller Eddie Russell and his team selected barrels from the 6th floor where the climate is generally warmer. Russell's Reserve single Rickhouse Camp Nelson B is available for a limited time in limited quantities for an SRP of $300 per 750 milliliter bottle. It's said to be 10 years old, and as I mentioned, it's bottled at 120.2 proof. Let's pour it. I went a little heavy on the pour, but I don't mind. It's turkey. All right, this bottle is gonna have a little work to do, especially coming off the Camp Nelson Single Rickhouse F, which is just a phenomenal bourbon, my bourbon of the year last year. Let's see how this one fares. It's got a lot of work to do. Here we go. First thing I get in the nose is a surprising one. It's floral. I'm getting a very bright floral note coming out of the nose here on this. It's something I got slightly the first time I had this on my live stream last week, I should say, but I feel like it's gotten a little bit stronger here. I also get a very rich golden raisin note, which I kind of like. It's definitely different for a Wild Turkey. There's a lot of clove here too. A little bit of like A1 steak sauce happening, which I'm getting on the nose, which is weird. But all in all, you also get a lot of those quintessential Wild Turkey notes. You get a lot of citrus here, a lot of orange. That kind of vanilla, toffee, cream soda richness is there as well. Maybe a hint of honey. But yeah, surprisingly floral for what I was expecting on the nose. So let's give it a try. Here we go. The palate comes off way more grapey than I thought it would, which is a little strange, but there's also a lot of sweetness here too. It's kind of like those typical turkey notes you normally get. A lot of brown sugar. There's a little bit of a peppery kick to it as well, especially on the back end. But again, that floral quality that it has, I feel like I've had that before in other Wild Turkey products, especially, when I go to, when I'm lucky enough to go there and pick some single barrels. It's something that definitely comes out of those single barrels for sure. And I also think I get a little bit more of the clove here on the back end. I think those baking spices are kind of lending itself to a little punch of a clove note as well. Yeah, to me, this is more savory than sweet. I think that for me, the baking spices are just really heavy. I don't mind it, but the one thing that's kind of balancing it out somewhat is kind of like that grapiness that it has. I'm getting some of the, kind of like that golden raisin on the palate as well. But that grapiness that it has is kind of taking over. Almost, again, it has like that Cabernet drying, like wine finish to it, which is interesting. But that only lasts for a second until it hits all the baking spices and then gets me on the back end. I don't know how I feel about this one. I think the flavors that it has are actually really strong and really potent. I dig them, but man, I'll tell you right off the bat, I don't even really have to compare it here. This is not as good as the Camp Nelson Single Rickhouse Camp Nelson F. It's not. I don't think it's really near that level. I think it's still better than the Camp Nelson C, which I think I really didn't like. I didn't think it was nearly to the level of for that price point. Camp Nelson F was amazing. This I don't think is hitting that mark, but I still think it might be, I might like it better than the C. Yeah, overall, I think it's good, not great. I don't think it drinks its proof point, so that, you know, the big 120.2 proof point on it, I think it's good, you know, for like marketing purposes, but I don't really think it drinks its proof point, but I do think it has a lot of pepperiness and clove and baking spice in the back end, which could kind of give you that indication, but it's more of a flavor spice than it is like an alcohol punch. All right, one last sip here. We'll do the final breakdown. Yeah, again, front of the palate, I do think you get a nice little golden raisin punch there. There's a lot of oak. As soon as it hits the back palate, it really gets into a lot of those spices I was talking about. Clove, you know, there's that floral quality to it. I think there's a little bit of a, kind of a sweet tobacco note too, but it's not super sweet. This comes off more of a straight up tobacco note, I think, which is good, but it kind of gives you a little bit of a drying aspect on the back of the palate. I don't know. I feel like this is good, not great. I got to think about this one. Final breakdown time. All right, final breakdown on the Russell Reserve Single Rickhouse Camp Nelson B. Price for this one, $300 SRP. I mean, damn, we should be used to it, I guess, after the last couple years. Resale market value, we're seeing these at about $450 to $500. And availability obviously is going to be extremely limited. Value for this one. Value, what you're getting in the bottle for the price point, I think it's a low value. I don't think this is a $300 in your face good enough of a bourbon from Wild Turkey. The Camp Nelson F, yes. But this one, don't think it's quite there. Most I'd pay for this one. This to me comes off like a $120 to maybe $140 bottle. But I could honestly say I've had Russell's Reserve picks, I think, that are better than this. And some of those Russell's picks could get to 9, 10 years old, sometimes even 11, depending on how lucky you get when you're, you know, during the picking process. So for me, yeah, if I had a choice or if I had a wish, I wish it was actually a lot cheaper than it is. But if there was a most I'd pay, I wouldn't pay a penny over retail for this. Alternatives to this one are simple. Russell's Reserve picks. Russell's Reserve picks are some of the best single barrels you're going to find out on the market, especially if you know of a good group, a good store that does great Russell's Reserve picks. I think there are Russell's Reserve picks out there that could get close to this, if not even exceed this. So to me, those are going to be the best. Those are going to be the best alternatives for this. Plus, those are about 80 to 90 bucks, maybe 100, depending on where you are, versus 300. And is this a skip, a try before you buy, or a buy and back it up? I gotta say, this one might be a pass for me, or a skip. I don't think this is a need to have Wild Turkey product. And that pains me to say, because you guys know how much I love Wild Turkey. I'm wearing my damn Wild Turkey shirt, for goodness sake. Is it good? Yes. Is it great? I don't think it's great. And again, this brings me back to Russell's Reserve has so many good single barrels and such high quality whiskey out there. I don't feel like you need this bottle. This is more of kind of just a, if you have the money, spend it and get one if you just want to add it to the collection. But for those of you that are counting your pennies and don't want to spend the money on this one, you're not really missing out on a lot, especially if you have access to really great Russell's Reserve picks. This is definitely not a need to have. It might be a nice to have, but I actually rather have 3 Russell's Reserve picks for 300 bucks over this one bottle where I could kind of get some different flavor profiles, and chances are one of those picks, if not 2 of those picks, are going to measure up to this one, and if not, may even be better than this one. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review for the new Russell's Reserve Single Rickhouse Camp Nelson B. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. And if you haven't yet, follow me on Instagram. Let me know if you've had this one, what you think about it. Again, it's good. It's got some great flavors, but I can name about at least 4 or 5 Russell's picks that I've had that are better than this one. So let me know down in the comments what you think. And as I always say, it's not about the whiskey. It's the people you share it with. So cheers. See you next time right here on the Mash and Drum. This one hurt me a little. Kind of hurt me.